Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Arlandastad for the second time actually. We're going to return to St Eriks Bryggeri. If you remember last time, the last review I did from these guys was a special edition beer. It was the Oktoberfest Helles, really quite nice. And tonight we have another one of their kind of limited release beers. This one is the Peach IPL, and I've heard that the original IPL is a really quite interesting beer, so that's one I need to get around to reviewing at some point too. But this is a special edition one, so it should be a pretty interesting one for us to review. Apparently it has a bit more hops in it than the original, and also has a bit of peach added to the brew as well, so should be quite an interesting one for us to take a look at. But as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the company. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual website links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do from St Eriks Bryggeri, and also the Facebook page for the channel. Please like it, and my Untappd profile, and feel free to add me as a friend on there as well. And to my Swedish viewers, I'll apologise in advance if any of the pronunciations aren't quite right, and please do let me know some other Swedish beers that you'd like me to have a look at. Always interesting to try beers from different places, so don't hesitate to get in touch through whatever means you like. But anyway, to tell you about St Eriks. So St Eriks Bryggeri is owned by the Swedish beer importer Galatea, one of the biggest sort of food and drink companies in Sweden apparently, but the head brewer is Jessica Heidrich. So the brewery is named after an old Stockholm brewery of the same name, and this one was founded back in 1859, and they stayed in production until the 1960s when it actually fell victim to monopolisation. And the old brewery is located on Kungsholmstorg, and it was widely regarded as the grandest brewery in Stockholm. But in 2001 Galatea acquired the rights to the St Eriks brand and actually spent 9 years preparing the ground essentially to relaunch it. So they soon crossed paths with microbiologist and brewer Jessica Heidrich, who became the head brewer after a couple of negotiations, a few phone calls and emails and things like that. But the St Eriks Bryggeri operates as an independent unit within the Galatea company, and in 2011 they actually invested in increasing the capacity at Sigtuna Brugghus in Arlandastad, and this is now where the majority of the St Erik beers are produced. But Jessica says she has the motto of hops and love when it comes to brewing her beer, and apparently she likes to combine American and English brewing styles with the sort of Swedish beer tradition as well. So when you try something from St Eriks, really you are getting a little bit of kind of Swedish heritage there, but you're getting a more sort of traditional brewing style, if you like. So quite an interesting brewery. As I said in my last review, I was really impressed with the Oktoberfest Helles beer. I really enjoyed that one, and I'm quite hard to impress with that style because I lived in Germany, so I have to give them a good thumbs up for that. So quite interested to try this one and see what it's like. I've heard the IPL is a very interesting beer, and like I say, this is a special edition of it. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, in their regular range they've got the Pilsner, the IPA, the Pale Ale, the APA, the Centennial, the Rauch beer, and also they have the organic ale as well. I actually have a bottle of the Rauch beer back home in Scotland, so when I go home at Christmas time I'll make sure to review that one for you. Rauch beers are probably my favourite style of beer, so very much looking forward to that one. And that was the first Swedish beer I came across for quite a long time in Scotland actually, so I will make sure and review that for you. But to tell you about this beer before we crack it open, this one is a 7% hybrid beer. It's supposed to be a hybrid between a sort of light lager and an IPA, and this one is hopped with Mosaic, Cascade and Pearl hops, I believe all from America. The Pearl hops might be German though, but it has a malt base of Pilsner and caramel malts, and it also has peaches added to the brew as well. And this one was introduced as a temporary release in August 2015. So like I say, should be quite an interesting beer for us to review. You can see, I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little bit of a look at the artwork there. You can see, not sure how well you can see it, but there is a queen or something there on the side of the glass. A queen and a king actually in the art, in the glasswork actually, by the looks of it. But this is the kind of typical style of bottle you'll find from St Eriks. The light's reflecting off it a little bit, so I'll try and point that away so you can see it. But yeah, looks really quite nice. All the labels from St Eriks Bryggeri are quite similar to this, just different colours and different patterns and things. And there is the typical St Eriks Bryggeri bottle cap. As I say, that is on all of their beers. So without further ado, let's crack this guy open then. Comes in at 7% on the Richter scale, and as you can see, nice sort of smoky opening there, and even with just opening that you can really smell the peaches coming out of this one, which when there's peach added to the brew you wouldn't expect any less than that. But yeah, really should be a very interesting one. I'm just intrigued by this addition of peaches to the brew. I've had a few fruit beers, but never one that really has just had the single fruit added to it. So this one should be interesting. And when I checked out the original IPL beer on Rate Beer, it was really quite highly rated. I think it had like an 80 or 90 rating on Rate Beer. So really interested to see what the special edition version of it's like. So as you can see, it's poured a really kind of bright orangey amber colour, this one. I'll just bring the light over and let you see the colour of that exactly. There's quite a bit of carbonation visible in this one. That's the first thing I'm noticing about it. And there's a solid, maybe 3/4 finger of a slightly off-white head. I think creamy is a good way to describe the colour of this head, but it looks really nice. There is some degree of transparency to it. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see that there is a bit of transparency there. So not really a hazy beer, maybe it's just the kind of glass steaming up a bit, but there is quite a lot of carbonation visible in this one, I have to say. So yeah, should be an interesting beer. There's one or two bigger bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but yeah, in terms of appearance, the beer looks very nice. So let's give it a smell and see how we get on. Well, just on the first glance, as you would expect, lots of peaches. Kind of seems a bit silly to say that, but yeah, a lot of peaches in this beer. If you sugar it up a little bit more, you get a bit more complexity coming out from the sort of tropical fruits in this beer. Peaches, as I say, are the most prominent component, as you would expect, but there is a little bit more stuff coming out of this one. Perhaps some mangoes and papaya, maybe? Apricots, these sort of tropical fruits that are a bit more smooth on the aroma. You're not getting something like grapefruit, which is a little bit more sour and a bit more prominent, if you like. It's definitely quite a juicy fruit smell to this, if you understand what I mean with that. Quite a hard thing to describe actually, but it smells really juicy actually. It comes out, this, actually smells like fruit juice a little bit. It smells like peach juice, to be honest with you. But there's a definite, if you sugar it up a little bit more, it does get a bit more complexity to it. There's a definite sort of floral and aromatic-y presence to this one, but it's not too prominent. It is quite subtle, but that's something you'll expect from the Pearl and the Mosaic hop in this beer. Pearl and Mosaic give you a little bit of a florally aromatic character. The Cascade has a sort of grapefruity and more tropical fruit note to it, so perhaps the Cascade is what's contributing a bit more to the kind of the complexity of the tropical fruits in this beer. But there is a bit of grassiness to it as well. As I say, the hoppy characters in this beer come across as very smooth and very kind of juicy. But yeah, definitely more forward on the fruity notes, as you would expect. And maybe there's a light hint of a kind of bready malt and maybe some biscuity sweetness as well. So just a little bit. But as I say, the other notes in the aroma are very kind of subtle, if you like. It is mainly forward on the peaches, and when it's called Peach IPL, that is exactly what you would expect. But sugar it up a bit more and you do get a little bit more complexity to it. As I always say, try your beer a little bit before you actually give it a bit of a smell before you actually get stuck into it. So without further ado, that's what we'll do now. So this is the Peach IPL from St Eriks Bryggeri up in Arlandastad to the north of Stockholm. Skål! It's quite interesting that I'm not quite sure what to make of that on first taste actually. It almost tastes a little bit like you've blended a lager beer with a sort of fruit juice. It almost tastes like a shandy that instead of using lemonade it uses peach juice instead of that. It's quite unusual actually. The fruity flavours they don't feel like a kind of American IPA, if that makes sense. They don't feel like they're a sort of natural part of the beer. You can really taste the fact in this one that it is it's sort of an addition that's made to the beer actually. Yeah, you can definitely the flavour blends together very well. But like I say, the fruitiness in this beer, it's not the same as that you would get from like an IPA or something like that. It does feel as if it's more of a blend of two different things. This beer, it is nice, but as I say, it just has a little bit as if it's a blend rather than a beer, if that makes sense. But it's drinkable and it's quite nice. But yeah, in terms of the flavour with this one, it does come across as quite juicy incidentally, which is what you would expect. And I have seen people describe this as being a fruit beer, but it's as I say, because to me it comes across as if you've got a bit of a fruit juice in there with a lager beer, a sort of Pils beer or something like that, and it works fairly well. It's quite an enjoyable and quite drinkable beer. But as I was saying with the aroma, the tropical fruits in this one are a bit more complex. As you would expect, it's mainly peaches that are coming out in this one, but there is a bit of a mango or maybe papaya actually coming out in this one. Papaya, to me, has a really quite interesting and quite distinct flavour, and I think behind the peaches there is a definite bit of papaya in there. There is maybe a bit of citrusy character as well, but the sort of peach juice, if you like, the sort of peachy juicy flavour really on the edges of your tongue, it does come in and it pushes quite far into the middle of the tongue. The sort of natural hoppy elements that you would expect of this beer when it's pearl, I would be expecting a bit of noble hop character to come out of it. The fruitiness of the beer, the sort of juicy character, kind of drowns that out a little bit, and it's more the malt base that you're getting from the actual from the actual beer part of this, if that makes sense. That said, at the back corners of the palate you can pick up a little bit of earthiness. That comes from the mosaic hop. The mosaic hop is a very good one to add if you want just a little bit of a smooth, earthy character to your beer, and it works quite well. The middle of the palate is just blanketed with this kind of light bready character across there. There's maybe a bit of a slightly grainy or biscuity, syrupy sweetness in there, and that blends together quite well. But as I was saying, the most prominent component of the flavour really is that sort of juicy peach character. And you know, the flavours, don't get me wrong, this beer tastes nice, but the peach to me just feels as if it's, you know, it's added to the beer. It doesn't feel as if it's a kind of natural part, if that makes sense. And perhaps, you know, if this beer was brewed exclusively as a fruit beer, then, you know, the sort of way that the peach comes across would be a bit more understandable. But it's quite unusual in the sense, it almost, like I say, it almost feels like it's kind of half beer, half fruit juice, like a shandy kind of thing. It comes across like that. But that said, I mean, a lot of people would rate the beer kind of lowly because of that, but I think it works quite well and it does have a good taste. The thing that you always look for as a beer reviewer when it comes to things like this, you look for things that are a bit different. And it certainly is that. It is quite enjoyable. But as I say, it comes across to me as a shandy, and yeah, it's something different. I do quite like that. It's a nice kind of lightly sessionable thing, and it's always interesting to have a taste of something different. But yeah, like I was saying, the fruity characteristics, in terms of the hoppiness, the earthy characters are at the very back corners of the palate. There's a little bit of grassiness, but that peach juicy character just comes in and pushes the sort of hoppy characteristics of the beer back a little bit. It's a bit grassy, and there's just a little bit of floral aromatic character around the very front curve of your tongue. There is a little bit of a kind of slightly dry floral aromatic character to this beer as well, but the fruits are in there and it's a bit more complex than just peach. I think a little bit of papaya and some mangoes coming out there as well. And there is a little bit of citrus, but that's a very, very kind of subtle note. But overall, the flavour of this beer is quite interesting. It's quite different from a lot of other things that you will come across. But in terms of the mouthfeel, this one, definitely light bodied. The carbonation, I think, is fairly light, I would say. But yeah, quite a wet mouthfeel to this one, as you'd expect. It comes across as quite juicy, mainly those sort of peachy flavours coming out. Then when that subsides a bit, you do get a little bit of the mango and papaya flavours coming out, and underneath that there is a kind of bready character to the malt, and a little bit of dry, as I said, there's a little bit of dryness just around the front edge. More of the aromatic hop character coming out, but overall it's quite a wet mouthfeel to the beer, and it's quite juicy as well. So what I would say, this beer is particularly good for fans of shandy, if you like. You know, if you enjoy fruit beers and maybe you want to actually get to have something that's a little bit different, then this is a good guy to go for. To me, it reminds me a lot of these kind of shandy drinks. So for a sort of purist when it comes to beer, maybe this isn't your thing, but if you like trying things that are a bit different and you're open-minded about that, definitely give this guy a go. It's always interesting to see breweries experiment in things like this, and for me, it's an interest as a beer reviewer, it's an interesting thing to come across and to think about a little bit. But I quite like the peachy flavours in this, and it's a nice easy drinking beer. So if that's the sort of thing you like, then I would give it a go. But what it has inspired me to do is that I want to actually try the original IPL, and it might be interesting to make a few comments in that video as to how this one compares with that. So that's something I'll probably do in the future. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to return to St Eriks Bryggeri and do another one for you. My next one, I think, from these guys, as I said, will be the Rauch beer. So do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for that one if you're interested. Go and check out St Eriks Bryggeri. Like I say, all other details and things are in the video description below. Let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before. I hope you're enjoying this kind of mini-series of Swedish reviews that I'm doing for you at the moment. And please, as I say, Swedish viewers, let me know some other beers you'd like me to have a look at, and I will see if I can get them. But I thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Like the Facebook page, add me as a friend on Untappd, and I will catch you soon with my next beer review. Many more from St Eriks to come in the future, and also many more Swedish reviews. Slange for just now.